Okay, let's unpack this. Today's deep dive is, well, it's structured more like a documentary of survival. We're looking at a narrative of extreme physical challenge that somehow delivers these incredible philosophical insights. We're taking the journey of one man's ascent of a single mountain, and from that, we're going to try and extract some universal lessons. Things about mentorship, persistence, and how to find stability when chaos is all around you. Our source material centers on Ethan and his punishing climb of Penny Fan. That's the highest mountain in South Wales, and this all took place on January 10th, 2026. This was the final, brutal event of his 90-day transformation series. But what really makes this story so compelling isn't just the climb itself, it's the almost impossible weather window he chose. So South Wales was just recovering from Storm Goretti, which had brought some serious damage, but the danger wasn't over, not by a long shot. Another massive system was already brewing out in the Atlantic. So Ethan launched his attempt during what was this temporary, almost miraculous lull, a fragile pocket of stillness that meteorologists had dubbed the Eye of the Needle. Just a few hours of grace wedged between two violent weather systems. The starting temperature was already plunging toward -3 degrees Celsius, which guaranteed treacherous conditions. When you look back at that decision, Ethan, what was your mental state going in?
I was aware it was risky, but I didn't know how truly unforgiving the conditions would be.
Right.
I was running purely on commitment. You know, the 90 days were almost done, and this was the final test. The moment I stepped out, the cold hit me like a physical punch.
It was immediate.
Oh, immediate, visceral. I didn't know what I was truly walking into that morning. I just knew I had to go.
And crucially, you weren't alone. You had a companion you only refer to as the shepherd.
Yeah.
And you've described him as something far beyond a traditional mountain guide.
He is, yeah. A traditional guide tells you which switchback to take, how fast to go. The shepherd doesn't do that.
So what does he do?
He walks beside you until you end up where you need to be. He's more of a catalyst, I think, for the lessons you need to learn. And his communication is minimal, almost painfully so.
And a perfect example of that terse style came the moment he picked you up that morning.
Exactly. I was expecting, I don't know, a detailed weather report, maybe a pep talk about the ice.
Sure.
Yeah.
To prepare you.
Instead, he just looked out at this frozen world and said, "Good conditions today."
Good conditions today.
3 words. That's it. I remember thinking he was either joking or, profoundly delusional.
But in retrospect, you realize those 3 words weren't about comfort. They were a statement of fact. The conditions were good relative to the storms on either side of that window.
Precisely. It was a reframing device before we even started walking. It set the expectation that this would be hard, but survivable.
So you began the ascent near the iconic red telephone box at the Story Arms. And almost immediately, the mountain began its instruction. The real danger wasn't the visible snow, but the black ice underneath, coating the slope like invisible glass.
I was sliding instantly. My foot just shot out, and that deep-seated animal panic just takes over.
Right, your arms flail.
Your arms fly out, you try to overcorrect, you try to find friction where there is none. I thought, I am completely out of control.
And was the immediate, maybe unhelpful response from your guide?
Utterly simple. He just said, steady.
Steady. That's easy to say, but when you're slipping on black ice, your instinct is to panic. Was that a physical instruction or more of a mental demand to just stop fighting?
It was mental first, physical second. I was fighting the ice, trying to impose my will, trying to look graceful.
The mountain doesn't care about grace.
Not at all. I kept trying to apply the perfect pressure and failing, and then came the moment of surrender.
Tell us about that descent.
There was this sheer sheet ice section, maybe 30 feet long. After slipping 2 or 3 times, trying to be perfect, I just gave up.
What did you do?
I tucked myself in, accepted gravity, and just slid down the ice sheet like an undignified human toboggan. I felt ridiculous, but I was moving.
And the shepherd watched the whole thing unfold, waiting at the bottom.
He did. He waited until I came to a stop, safe but slightly bruised, and honestly laughing at the absurdity of it. He just looked down and offered his only comment.
Which was, wow.
That's one way to do it.
That's the turning point, isn't it? That dry, witty acceptance. It moves the mountain from being a judge of your ability to being a teacher of reality.
Absolutely. The tension just broke. I realized the mountain demands respect, but not rigidity. It demands you recognize when effort is counterproductive.
So with that psychological burden of perfection lifted, you pushed higher. And as you ascended, the lessons shifted from gravity and surrender to strategy and friction.
Yes. The snow became deep, up to my knees in some sections. Walking was incredibly strenuous. But this is where the philosophy of creating your own path really hit home.
You encountered the main established route, the one worn by thousands of hikers. Why did the shepherd decide that was the path to avoid?
Because the sheer volume of traffic had packed the snow down, freezing it solid overnight into a new layer of treacherous ice.
So the obvious, well-trodden choice
Was now the most dangerous one. A mistake there meant sliding backward, losing significant ground, maybe getting hurt.
and the shepherd made the tactical decision to step away from it.
He looked at the packed, dangerous ice, then looked at the fresh, untouched, knee-deep snow next to it and said simply, "We go around,"
So you stepped off the beaten path.
and started forging our own way directly through the deep snow. It was hard work, but it felt right.
That's a profound realization, because that worn path represents, efficiency, habit, corporate dogma, the way things have always been done. Why is that efficient route so dangerous?
Because it lacks friction. The worn path is smooth. It doesn't ask you to work for stability. It's easy to follow, but it gives you no grip.
But the untouched snow,
The deep, untouched snow was hard work. It demanded that knee-lifting, full-body effort, but that effort provided the friction, the stability I needed to feel safe and keep moving forward.
it's the moment the cost of comfort becomes higher than the price of struggle. You stopped halfway up, I believe, and looked back at the fresh track you'd carved.
I was winded, hands on my knees. I looked back and saw our footprints, just perfect and singular, cutting through the white. The shepherd stopped me, pointed back at it, and said, "See that?
The core insight of the day.
Don't walk in someone else's path. Create your own."
That moment, it just crystallized everything. The path that provides true stability and safety isn't the one everyone else takes. It's the one you put the effort into forging yourself.
I think everyone listening can relate to that feeling of analysis paralysis when you're staring at a huge task. The shepherd had a lesson for that too, bringing the focus back to applied physics.
Yeah, after I slipped again, still trying to fight the slope, he stopped me. "Friction," he said, and then, "You're fighting the mountain. Stop. Work with it." That's about leveraging constraints, rather than just fighting them. The mountain is an immovable object, but your body is a lever. How did you apply that?
I realized I was trying to force the path to be flat, which meant constantly straining. He showed me that if I accepted the angle and worked with my weight as leverage, I conserved so much energy.
It translates directly to business or life, doesn't it?
Completely. If you fight the constraints, the budget, the timeline, you exhaust yourself. If you leverage them, they become assets that focus your movement.
And when the sheer magnitude of the task became overwhelming, when you looked up at that distant, fog-obscured peak, he simplified the strategy entirely.
I was standing there mentally calculating the distance left, the time, the vertical gain. I was just overwhelmed by the enormity of it.
Right.
He looked at me, saw the calculation in my eyes, and just said, "One foot after another. That's it. Don't look at the top. Look at the next step."
That is the antidote to analysis paralysis right there. It shifts the focus from the grand, intimidating goal to the one micro action needed right now. It's important to remember, too, that you and the shepherd weren't the only ones out there that day. Simultaneously, one of the UK's most brutal endurance events, the Winter Fan Dance, was underway on the very same terrain.
We started seeing them through the mist, these figures moving fast, laden with these heavy packs. These are people carrying 35 pounds, racing 24 kilometers across that frozen wilderness. Many trying to qualify for elite special forces selection.
Wow.
They were in a completely different league of physical punishment.
And what was that interaction like when your personal journey intersected with this immense display of shared endurance?
We stopped our climb and shouted encouragement. You could just see the determination on their exhausted faces. The shepherd just pointed and said, "Fan dance."
He observed them with this quiet respect and drew a crucial philosophical link between your journey and their high-stakes attempt.
He said, "Different battle, same mountain."
That's a powerful equalizer. Regardless of the label you put on your struggle, transformation, qualification, business growth, you're all subject to the same elemental laws.
Exactly. You're all navigating the same ice, the same constraints, the same need for persistence. And just to remind us how unforgiving those laws are, we started hearing the very specific sound of mountain rescue helicopters working the slopes nearby.
Dealing with an injured hiker, adventure and danger really do share the same ridgeline.
Always.
So after hours of climbing through ice, through knee-deep snow, through these profound mental tests, you finally reached the summit of Pen Fan, 886 meters above sea level. You had earned the view.
My toes were numb, my fingers were burning cold, the exhaustion was deep and, satisfying. I looked around, ready for the payoff, and all I saw was fog.
Nothing.
Total thick, white fog. I couldn't see 20 feet in any direction.
After all that effort, the mountains seemed to be denying you that spectacular reward. You must have felt a huge wave of disappointment.
I did initially, but I managed to push past it pretty quickly. I thought the journey itself was the reward. This is it. I was ready to celebrate the achievement and just head down and get warm.
But the shepherd was not. He stood there in the white, blank landscape and offered another instruction that tested your discipline.
He just stood there and said, "Wait." I didn't understand why. I was freezing. I asked him, "Wait for what?" He just looked out at the fog, commanding me, "Just wait."
That moment of waiting is crucial. You'd achieve the physical goal. The human instinct is to retreat, to seek comfort. How difficult was it to accept that command to wait?
It was the hardest thing of the day, honestly. It demands trust and acceptance that there might be something better coming, even when all the evidence says otherwise. It forces you to embrace patience right in the face of discomfort.
And then the gift arrived.
It was breathtaking. The fog didn't just fade slowly, it pulled back like an actual curtain rising on a stage. It was dramatic. Sudden.
The entire world opened up around you.
Everything. The golden light from the setting sun started spilling across the valleys below. We could see the entirety of Wales. The sky was on fire with color, and there was this deep, profound silence that only comes with that altitude when the air clears.
Just complete
It
silence.
was a view I couldn't have even imagined.
The shepherd smiled, which you said was a rare sight, and delivered his final, powerful observation, linking that moment of clarity to humility and perspective.
He looked out over this impossible view and he said, "The mountain decides what you see today. It decided to show you everything." It was the ultimate lesson in relinquishing control. You can put in the work, but sometimes the greatest rewards require the humility to just wait for the mountain's timing.
The transformation was complete on the journey down. The physical conditions, the ice, the cold, they hadn't changed at all. But the person navigating that environment had.
I felt lighter. We laughed more. The sheer heaviness of the challenge had been replaced by gratitude and a surprising peace. We hadn't conquered anything, we had merely learned the mountain's rules.
Ethan came to Panafan looking for a box to tick, a physical marker of his transformation. He left having discovered a practical philosophy for navigating any challenge.
I found a teacher who speaks through silence. I learned when to accept gravity and when to generate friction. And I learned that the worn, easy path often lacks the stability you truly need. And that the only reliable path forward is the one you put the effort into carving yourself.
This deep dive into a frozen mountaintop ultimately reminds us that nature, like the challenges we face in our careers and lives, doesn't care about your detailed timelines or your 90-day plans. It only asks one essential, provocative question. And it's the question we want to leave you with today.
Will you take the next step?
Because the path you are looking for, the most stable, the most functional, and the most necessary path, is ultimately the one you realize you must create yourself.